clock bleeds a steady crimson static. Shadows stretch across the ceiling like a silent fabric. The city holds its breath while the moon leans in low. Gravity is losing grip and the pendulum is moving slow. A single spark ignites a garden in the chest, watching all the heavy questions finally go to rest. Ice cubes melting in a glass of verbal gold. The stories of the afternoon have all been told. Curtains swaying like a ghost in a velvet haze, walking through the hallways of a gentle mental maze. The floorboards hum a melody under naked feet, where the hum of the machine and the liquid pulses me. Sinking through the cushions into the center of the earth, calculating what a quiet hour is actually worth. Floating on the exhale while the midnight turns to ink. Standing at the edge but forgetting how to blink. The atmosphere is thick and the frequency is right, dissolving in the violet honey of the deep night. Smoke rings circling the lamp like a halo of dust, trading in the jagged edges for a sense of trust. The radiator rattles a rhythm from a distant year. The phantom of the struggle is no longer staying here, tracing patterns on the air that only I can see. The lock is turning softly and I finally found the key. The horizon line is blurring with the shadows on the wall, waiting for the stars to take their inevitable fall. Everything is softer than it was a moment ago, swimming in a current that is rhythmic and slow. Sinking through the cushions into the center of the earth, calculating what a quiet hour is actually worth. Floating on the exhale while the midnight turns to ink. Standing at the edge but forgetting how to blink. The atmosphere is thick and the frequency is right, dissolving in the violet honey of the deep night. Into the center of the earth, calculating what a quiet hour is actually worth. Floating on the exhale while the midnight turns to ink. Standing at the edge but forgetting how to blink. The atmosphere is thick and the frequency is right, dissolving in the violet honey of the deep night.
Clock swings past the dead of night while shadows stretch across the floor. The heavy lung breathes deep enough to settle every open score. Smoke curls tie a velvet knot around the corners of the room, dissolving every jagged edge within this sweet and silent gloom. The ceiling turns to liquid silver, dripping slow through hollow space. A hazy bloom of wild oregano takes over every trace of face. No taking gears or grinding wheels to interrupt the drifting mind, just leaving every heavy burden set 1,000 miles behind. Float high above the valley where the golden vapors rise, with diamonds in the throat and distant planets in the eyes. The gravity is broken and the anchors finally rust, transforming all the iron worry into glowing stardust. The matches flicker out like tiny suns that surrender to the dark. Each inhalation leaves a glowing berry, glowing like a spark. We're sailing on a paper boat across a sea of verbal tea, far away from anyone who dares to demand defeat. Forgetting the names of city streets and numbers on the folding green. The only thing that matters is the clarity within the screen of mist that weave the tapestry around the tired, aching soul, until the broken pieces find their way back to a perfect whole. Float high above the valley where golden vapors rise, with diamonds in the throat and distant planets in the eyes. The gravity is broken and the anchors finally rust,
transforming all the iron worry into glowing stardust. Suspended in the ember of a long and winding afternoon. Oh no, though sun is gone, we're dancing to a silent ancient tune. The walls are soft as pillows and the air is thick with grace. A sanctuary hidden in this slow and sacred pace. Float high above the valley where the golden vapors ride, with diamonds in the throat and distant planets in the eye. The gravity is broken and the anchors finally rust, transforming all the iron worry into glowing stardust. Float high above the valley where the golden vapors ride, with diamonds in the throat and distant planets in the eyes. The gravity is broken and the anchors finally rust, transforming all the iron worry into glowing stardust.
Clock face froze at 12 past the smoke ring. Heavy velvet curtain swinging on the gravity of low things. I am tracing patterns in the plaster of the ceiling sky, counting backwards from the ledge where the day goes to die. The air is thick enough to lean against like a ghost train, waiting for the static on the radio to finally bend. My boots are heavy with the dust of 1,000 miles, while the silver paper burns away the logic and the trials. Matches flicker like a heartbeat in a hollow wooden chest. I found a sanctuary folded in the pocket of a vest. The street lamps outside drowning in a sea of gray. I am floating where the logic of the sun is kept at bay. Everything in slow motion like a film run through sand, holding on to nothing with a very loose and steady hand. The shadows are on the water dancing to a silent beat, while the city hums a lullaby beneath the concrete street. Exhale the midnight into a bowl of cooling glass, watching every dragon second turn to liquid as they pass. A weight is lifting upward to the cracks in the floor. I am walking through a hallway that doesn't need a door, high above the tangle where the tangle wires sleep, losing every promise that I promised I would keep. Wrapped in the haze of a faded blue velvet coat, letting every heavy word just find a later flow. Exhale the midnight into a bowl of cooling glass, watching every jagged second turn to liquid as they pass. The weight is lifting upward through the cracks in the floor. I am walking through a hallway that doesn't need a door, high above the tangle where the tangle wires sleep, losing every promise that I promised I would keep. Wrapped in the haze of a faded blue velvet coat, letting every heavy word just find a way to flow. There is a diamond hidden in the center of the flame, burning off the letters of a forgotten middle name. The clock hands are melting like soft wax on a plate. I am early for the party, but I know I am late. The window is a mirror and the mirror is a lake. I am taking every breath that the dark will let me take. Smokers climbing ladders made of shifting violet light. I am the only witness to the middle of the night. The fridge is humming gospel to the kitchen floor tile. I am staying in this corner for a very long while. The pressure in the temples is a soft and steady thumb, pressing on the logic until the logic's gone numb. I can see the wind blowing through the keyhole on the left. Everything is simple when you are your mind bereft. Exhale the midnight into a bowl of cooling glass, watching every jagged second turn to liquid as they pass. Your weight is lifting up through the cracks in the floor. I am walking through a hallway that doesn't need a door, high above the tangle where the tangle wires sleep, losing every promise that I promised I would keep. Wrapped in the haze of a faded blue velvet coat, living every heavy word, just find a way to flow. Exhale the midnight into a bowl of cooling glass, watching every jagged second turn to liquid as it pass. Your weight is lifting upward through the cracks in the floor. I'm walking through a hallway that doesn't need a door, high above the tangle while the tangle wires sleep, losing every promise that I promised I would keep. Wrapped in the haze of a faded blue velvet coat, letting every heavy word just find a way to flow.
Clock strikes 12 and the ceiling starts to melt. Floating on the velvet cloud I never felt. Ash falls like gray snow on my denim thighs, watching all the static fade behind my eyes. The room is thick with a heavy sweet haze. Losing my direction in a slow motion maze. Gravity is just a suggestion I ignore as my heavy boots drift off the wooden floor. Breathe in the silver ghost and let it stay. Watching the daylight troubles rot away. 420 tick with a heartbeat slow. Nowhere to reach and nowhere to go. Just a quiet spot in the deep of the dark. Leaving behind every jagged little mark. The universe is folded in a paper square. Oxygen is burning in the stagnant air. Time is a liquid leaking through the wall. I'm far too elevated now to ever fall. Colors turn to liquid and the silence grows loud, wrapping every thought inside a linen shroud. Eyes half closed, seeing patterns in the paint. The heavy scent of resin makes the city seem faint. Street lights are distant diamonds in the glass, waiting for the heavy hours of the night to pass. My lungs are heavy and my vision is blurred, finding a meaning in a forgotten word. Everything is vibrating at a different frequency, drowning in this temporary soft blue lineage. Into a silver coast and let it stay. Watching the daylight troubles rot away. 420 tick with a heartbeat slow. Nowhere to reach and nowhere to go. Just a quiet spot in the deep of the dark. Leaving behind every jagged little mark. Let it stay, watch any daylight troubles rot away. 420 tick with a heartbeat slow. Nowhere to reach and nowhere to go. Just a quiet spot in the deep of the dark. Leaving behind every jagged little mark. The wall clock is bleeding a slow velvet grease, while the ceiling fans rotate in circles apiece. 42 ways to describe how the gravity feels when the friction of daylight has come off the wheels. The curtains are heavy with cotton and dust. I am watching the copper reflections of rust. There is a hole in the carpet where the silence begins. I am trading my worries for thick bluish spins. The midnight exhale is a silver balloon floated up to the hollow arc of the moon. Everything solid is drifting away. I have forgotten the color of day. The embers are breathing in time with my chest. Leaving the ghosts and the shadows to rest. The radio hums like a bee in a jar, telling me secrets of some dying star. My boots are two anchors left sinking in sand, while the galaxy fits in the palm of my hand. Nothing is urgent and nothing is hard. I am a king of a junk-cluttered yard. The smoke builds a ladder that leads to the roof, where the truth is a vapor that needs no more proof. The midnight exhale is a silver balloon floated up to the hollow arc of the moon. Everything solid is drifting away. I have forgotten the color of day. The embers are breathing in time with my chest. Leaving the ghosts and the shadows to rest. The midnight exhale is a silver balloon floated up to the hollow arc of the moon. Everything solid is drifting away. I have forgotten the color of day. The embers are breathing in time with my chest. Leaving the ghosts and the shadows to rest. Yeah. The clock is beating shadows on the hardwood floor, while the heavy smoke is knocking at the basement door. The world is spinning backwards in a lazy slow motion. I'm bathing in the silence of a velvet ocean. Keep the flame steady hidden in the palm of my hand, watching us dissolve like a mountain of sand. The silence has a weight that the daylight can't hold, turning silver intentions into tarnished old gold. Got a blue note vibrating in the hollow of my chest. Let the static in the wires give the city a rest. I'm drifting through the static of a flickering light, tracing every jagged edge of this charcoal night. The ceiling starts to ripple like a disturbed bar, breaking every heavy chain and every brittle bar. My lungs are full of ghosts and the spirits of the vine, counting every second on a crooked timeline. The moon is just a pale coin tossed in the deep. Secrets are the only things the weary can keep. The heavy air is thick with a thick sweet scent, paying back the time that the afternoon lent. Exhale the midnight into the cold gray ring, watching how the embers make the corners bloom. No questions for the gravity that pulls us down, wearing this heavy fog like a kingly crown. The blues are just a color that the darkness wears, descending down the spiral of these smoky stairs. Just a slow combustion in the dead of the night, waiting for the morning to be wrong or right. Yeah. The vinyl keeps scratching on a dusty old groove, too comfortable in the shadows to bother to move. My thoughts are moving slower than the sap in the tree, finally feeling honest and finally feeling free. There's a low frequency hum in the dark I'm outside, nowhere left for a restless heart to try and hide. I've seen the ways the stars get tangled in the wires, walking through the remnants of 1,000 small fires. The moon is just a pale card tossed in the deep. Secrets are the only things the weary can keep. The heavy air is thick with a thick sweet scent, tame back the time that the afternoon lay. Exhale the midnight into the cold gray room, watching how the embers make the mourners bloom. No casters for the gravity that pulls us down, wearing this heavy fog like a king bee crown. The blues are just a color that the darkness wears, descending down the spiral of these smoky stairs. Just a slow combustion in the dead of night, waiting for the morning to go wrong or right. Exhale the midnight into the cold gray room, watching how the embers make the corners bloom. No questions for the gravity that pulls us down, wearing this heavy fog like a kingly crown. The blues are just a color that the darkest wears, descending down the spiral of these smoky stairs. Just a slow combustion in the dead of the night, waiting for the morning to be wrong or right.
Clock hands heavy at the edge of the sky, gray clouds dragging a velvet shroud. Your fingertips tracing a circle of smoke, watching the ceiling dissolve into ghosts. Half-empty glasses on the mahogany grain, tracing the patterns of the soft summer rain. The street lights flicker in a hollow trance, dust motes engaged in a slow motion dance. Unfasten the collar, let the heavy air sink, floating on bubbles of thick purple ink. No gravity holding the weight of the bone, just the hum of a low frequency zone. The calister burns with the blue steady light. We are the shadows tucked under the night, turning the lock on the carousel mind, leaving the jagged remains far behind. Breathe out the fire and swallow the deep, promises made that the dreamers will keep. Levitate higher than a tall timberline, drown in the hours in the days of design. Suspended in amber while the world stays still, climbing the slope of a cardboard hill. The vinyl is spinning a crackling thread, weaving a net for the thoughts in your head. Old leather sofas and a worn-out rug, feeling the pull of the magnetic tug. The window is open to the scent of the pine, everything blurry and perfectly fine. The calendar burns with the blue steady light. We are the shadows tucked under the night, turning the lock on the carousel mind, breathing the jagged remains far behind. Breathe out the fire and swallow the day, promises made that the dreamers will keep. Levitate timberline, drowned in the hours and the days of design. Suspended in amber while the world stays still, climbing the slope of a cardboard hill. Breathe out the fire and swallow the dew. Promises made that the dreamers will keep. Levitate high in the tall timberline, drowned in the hours and the days of design. Suspended in amber while the world stays still, climbing the slope of a cardboard hill.
The clock face blurred at 12:15. Gravity dissolves within the velvet green. I am heavy water in a ceramic bowl, filtering the static leaked from my soul. The radiator hums a low frequency static, lifting every secret stored in the attic. Slow motion waves beneath my heavy eyes, tracing the geometry of local jasmine highs. The air is thick like honey on a silver spoon. We are tethered to the tide of a paper moon. Wailers drifting through the drywall seams, navigating currents of unspoken dreams. The pressure drops and the room begins to bloom. Lavender shadows dancing throughout the room. Exhale the heavy hanker from deep inside, caught in the swell of an emerald tide. Time is a folding chair left out in the rain, wash away the grit and the phantom pain.
Engine wood is creaking under silent feet, pulse matches the tempo of the empty street. I've forgotten why I ever needed to run, bathed in the glow of a subterranean sun. The ceiling is a map of a forgotten state. I am early for the silence, but for sleep I can't wait.
Pressure drops and the room begins to bloom. Lavender shadows dancing throughout the room. Exhale the heavy anchor from deep inside, caught in the swirl of an emerald tide. Time is a folding chair left out in the rain, wash away the grit and the phantom pain. Pressure drops and the room begins to bloom. Lavender shadows dancing throughout the room. Exhale the heavy anchor from deep inside, caught in the swell of an emerald tide. Time is a folding chair left out in the rain, wash away the grit and the phantom pain. Clock is heavy, hanging on a plaster wall. Shadows stretching like a slow, steady crawl. Stale smoke burning around the velvet chair. I am breathing in the silence of the heavy air. The street lamp is a lonely I go, watching stories that remain untold. My lungs are heavy with the hurt of time, counting pennies in a world of crime. The horizon is a blurry purple line, waiting for the morning sun to shine. But right now, the dark is all I own, sitting on this hollow wooden throne. Midnight exhale, drifting through the room, chasing ghosts inside this quiet tomb. 420 haze is settling in my veins, numbing out the cold and constant rains. Let the blues pull me down to the floor. I do not need to struggle anymore. Just a cloud and a weary tired soul, trying to make the broken
record spinning with a dusty scratch. Looking for a flame and a burning match. The bass is thumping like a dying heart, pulling every single thought apart. My hands are stained with the ash of the night. I have lost the will to join the fight. The ceiling is a map of where I have been. Every crack is a different kind of sin. The horizon is a blurry purple line, waiting for the morning sun to shine. But right now the dark is all I own, sitting on this hollow wooden throne. Midnight exhale, drifting from the room, chasing ghosts inside this quiet tomb. 420 haze is settling in my veins, numbing out the cold and constant rain. Let the blues pull me down to the floor. I do not need to struggle anymore. Where's the cow and a weary pious soul, trying to make the broken pieces whole. They say the dawn brings a brand new day, but the fire and deer will never fade away. Candle the embers, keep the fever high, watch the sparks fly up toward the sky. I am drifting on a sea of mellow gray, watching all my trouble float away. Midnight exhale, lifting through the room, chasing ghosts inside this quiet tomb. 420 haze is settling to my veins, numbing out the cold and constant rains. Let the blues pull me down to the floor. I do not need to struggle anymore. Just a cloud and a weary tired soul, trying to make the broken pieces fall. Midnight exhale, drifting through the room, chasing gold inside this quiet tomb. 420 haze is settling in my veins, numbing out the cold and constant rains. Clock face froze on a jagged line, a heavy smog silvered by the pale moonlight. I walked the sidewalk searching for a ghost, found a velvet shadow where the winds coast, tracing the ringlets of a slow burning spark, deep in the pocket of the quiet and dark. The gravity is shifting beneath my warm soles, while the heavy sky fills up its empty holes. A blue note is hanging on a rusted railing across the alley where the light is failing. My lungs are holding on to a thick gray cloud, turning down the noise that used to be loud. The street lamps flicking a yellow eye, watching the heavy smoke drift toward the sky. I am stepping over cracks and sunken dreams. Nothing is as solid as it truly seems. Exhale that heavy weight into the middle of the night. Let the bitter fervor make the world feel right. Slow down the spinning of the dusty glow, wrap the silence round me like a heavy road. The 420 haze is a thick and lonely bridge built across a valley on a jagged ridge. La, 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 la. Just keep breathing till the stars go dim. La, 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 la. Floating through the ocean on a broken lip. Saxophone is crying in a basement flat. The notes are thick and lazy and a little fat. I am leaning on a brick wall, feeling the cold, looking for a secret that has not been told. The ember is dancing like a dying sun, knowing that the day has finally been done. My mind is a river with a gentle flow, going everywhere that I do not know. The blues is a passenger inside my chest, looking for a corner where it's allowed to rest. I see the city through a foggy lens, making peace with all the missing fence. There's a comfort in the way the ash falls down, silent as a feather on a sleeping town. No more questions left for me to ask, taking off the heavy wooden social mask. Exhale the heavy weight into the middle of the night. Let the bitter favor make the world feel right. Slow down the cynic of the dusty glow, wrap a silent frown, make like a heavy road. The 420 haze is a thick and lonely ridge built
across the valley at a jagged bridge. Da 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 da. Just keep breathing till the stars go dim. Da 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 da. Floating through the ocean on a broken limb. Exhale the heavy weight into the middle of the night. Oh, let the bitter flavor make the world feel right. Oh, slow down, the singing of the dusty cold. Grab the silence round me like a heavy boat. 420 hazes are taking over bridge, built across the valley on a jagged ridge. Da 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 da. Just keep breathing till the stars go dim. Floating through the ocean on a broken limb.
The clock face froze on the edge of the night. Found a heavy silence in the fading light. Silver embers dancing on a velvet sleeve. Nothing but the truth in the air I breathe. Concrete heartbeat slowing to a crawl. Shadows stretching tall against the hall. Ghostly halo hovering above the bay. Watching all the static simply melt away. Float on the haze of a midnight light. Counting every star in a violet sky. Weightless motion in a heavy room. Watching lavender gardenias start to bloom. Just a steady pulse and a quiet mind. Leaving every jagged thought deep behind. Drifting through the calm of a private tide. Nowhere left to run and no place to hide. Gravity's folded like a paper crane. Wash away the dust from a weary brain. Gold leaf flickers in a steady hand. Drawing maps across the shifting sand. Thick smoke curling like a winding snake. Everything is real but nothing is at stake. Glass reflection glowing with the hidden spot. Building quiet bridges through the dark. Float on the haze of a midnight side. Counting every star in a violet sky. Weightless motion in a heavy room. Watching lavender gardenias start to bloom. Just a steady pulse and a quiet mind. Weaving every jagged thought deep behind. Drifting through the calm of a private tide. Nowhere left to run and no place to hide. Oh. Soft and edges on a jagged world. Banners of the spirit slowly unfurl. Time is a valley where the river flows. Deep into the garden where the indigo grows. Calls the heavy valves of the noisy street. Feel the universe under heavy feet. One long pull and the vision stays clear. Distant constellation feeling so near. Float on the haze of a midnight side. Counting every star in a valley slide. Weightless motion in a heavy room. Watching lavender gardenias start to bloom. Just a steady pulse and a quiet mind. Leaving every jagged thought deep behind. Drifting through the calm of a private tide. Nowhere left to run and no place to hide. Float on the haze of a midnight side. Counting every star in a violet sky. Weightless motion in a heavy room. Watching lavender gardenias start to bloom. Just a steady pulse and a quiet mind. Leaving every jagged thought deep behind. Drifting through the calm of a private tide. Nowhere left to run and no place to hide. Black face froze beneath the heavy lid. Watching smoke rings orbits like a quiet kid. The radiator hums a low frequency hum, while the shadow on the wall begins to succumb to the gravity of velvet afternoon lingering late. Folding the corners of a predetermined fate. Everything moves through a syrup quicker than time. Searching for a reason that doesn't need to rhyme. Brings out the ghost of a restless day. Let the silver haze pull the anchors away. Floating on a cushion made a hollow sound. Higher than the fever where the heavy hearts are bound. No need to speak when the air is this thick. Just lean into the slow and the magic trip. Breathe out the ghost of a restless day.
Let the silver haze pull the anchors away. Floating on a cushion made a hollow sound, higher than the fever where the heavy hearts are bound. No need to speak when the air is less thick, just lean into the slow and the magic trick. The street lamp outside is an artificial sun, blessing the sidewalks where the weary people run. But inside the garden of the singular spark, we are carving out a sanctuary from the dark. The taste of the green is the color of peace, offering the mind a temporary release from the grinding years of a mechanical age, reading between the lines of a blank white page. Breathe out the ghost of a restless day. Let the silver haze pull the anchors away. Floating on the ocean made a hollow sound, higher than the fever where the heavy hearts are bound. No need to speak when the air is this thick, just lean into the slow and the magic trick. Breathe out the ghost of a restless day. Let the silver haze pull the anchors away. Floating on a cushion made a hollow sound, higher than the fever where the heavy hearts are bound. No need to speak when the air is this thick, just lean into the slow and the magic trip.
Clock face froze on a vertical line. Heavy velvet curtains blocking out the sign. The clock strikes 12 and the oxygen thins, tracing paper patterns where the smoke rings spin. Low frequency waves rocking through the floor. Got a loose latch hanging on a wooden door. Floating on the current of a slow burning fuse. Nothing left to gain and the whole world to lose. The street lamp is a hazy distant golden speck, resting my heavy head upon the leather neck. Dust motes dancing in the blue tinted shade, watching how the colors of the daylight fade. Elevate the mind with the friction of the flint, silver in the palm and the greenery hint. Gravity is broken and the ceiling is gone, waiting for the static of the early gray dawn. Hold the ghost inside until the lungs expand, sifting through the hours like a mountain of sand. 42-0 on the digital screen, caught in the middle of a velvet routine, drifting through the ether on a charcoal trail. Every single burden is a paper thin sail, heavy in the marrow but the spirit is light, dissolving in the kingdom of the deep midnight. Ice cubes rattling in a ceramic cup, eyes pinned down while the mood climbs up. The neighborhood is sleeping in a concrete shell, counting every hollow ring of the bell. Couch is abandoned and I'm stuck in a bowl. The cabinet is empty but the vessel is full. Slow down the motion till the frame just stops. Listen to the rhythm of the condensation drops. Cotton in the throat and a haze in the chest, solving all the riddles that were never expressed. Folded up the night because the path is clear. Silence is the only thing I need to hear. Hold the ghost inside until the lungs expand, sifting through the hours like a mountain of sand. 42-0 on the digital screen, caught in the middle of a velvet routine, drifting through the ether on a charcoal trail. Every single burden is a paper thin sail, heavy in the mirror but the spirit is light, dissolving the kingdom of the deep midnight. Hold the ghost inside until the lungs expand, sifting through the hours like a mountain of sand. 42-0 on the digital screen, caught in the middle of the very routine, drifting through the ether on a charcoal trail. Every single burden is a paper thin sail, heavy in the marrow but the spirit is light, dissolving in the kingdom of the deep midnight.
The clock face froze at a standstill point, Silver smoke trails mapped out the ceiling joint. Gravity gave up the ghost 3 floors down. Tracing patterns on a secondhand crown. Blue velvet heavy in the marrow of my bones. Leaving missed calls on this disconnected phones. The city is a postcard underwater and still waiting for the chemistry to climb up the hill.
I'm counting the fibers in the rug beneath my palm. Finding a frequency inside this hollow calm. Everything slows to the crawl of the sap. Tucking my conscience in the fold of a lap.
The air is a blanket that I didn't have to buy. Watching the reflection of a kite in the eye. Breathe in the shadow, let the oxygen weigh. Floating on the current, watch the hours lose weight. The midnight exhale is the only sound left. Moving through the silence like a subtle little touch. Higher than the steeples, lower than the rooms. Trading in the spirit for these dandelion suits. All the heavy lifting is a memory of flight. Drifting on the edges of a slow burning light.
Matches are humming on the edge of the glass. Watching all the frantic little centuries pass. My lungs are a cathedral for the green and the gray. Exchanging the sunlight for a different kind of day. No more friction on the soles of my feet. The asphalt is drifting just an inch off the street. A hazy architecture built on nothing but a spark. Carving out a sanctuary deep inside the dark.
The hum of the branch is a symphony of one. Batting in the labor of the morning and the sun. I got a pocket full of clouds and a heavy mental fuse. Nothing left to lose and no reason to choose. Just steady vibrations on a crooked little line. Turning off and let into a soul dripping wine. Breathe in the shadows, let the oxygen wait. Floating on the current where the hours lose weight. The midnight exhale is the only sound left. Moving through the silence like a subtle little threat. Higher than the steeples, lower than the roofs. Trading in the spirit for you dandelion suits. All the heavy lifting is a memory in flight. Drifting on the edges of a slow burning light. Dark face frozen, a crooked stare. Heavy curtain swallow up the hall. Slow gravity pulling at my chair. Watching shadows stretch against the wall. Silver paper crinkles in the dark. A tiny ember dancing on the tip. Claiming every jagged mental spark. Letting all the heavy anchors still. Floating on a velvet sea of gray. Everything is soft around the edge. The noise of noon is melted far away. Balanced on a peaceful psychic ledge. Lowering the fever of the brain. Liquid silence filling up the wound. Washing out the color of the pain. Basking in a hazy inner bloom. Floating on a velvet sea of gray. Everything is soft around the edge. The noise of noon is melted far away. Balanced on a peaceful psychic ledge. Lowering the fever of the brain. Liquid silence filling up the room. Washing out the color of the pain. Basking in a hazy inner bloom. Street lights through the glass are pale and lean. The smoke spinning in a slow descent. Tasting something herbal and serene. Wondering where the frantic daylight went. The sin starts to breathe in steady waves. Counting heartbeats echoing and slow. No more digging through the mental caves. Just the gentle pull of indigo. A pressure in the campus finds a door. The tangle knot of worry comes undone. Feet no longer touching on the floor. Dissolving into midnight, one by one. Looming on a velvet sea of gray. Everything is soft around the edge. The noise of doom has melted far away. Balanced on a peaceful psychic ledge. Lowering the fever of the brain. Liquid silence filling up the room. Washing out the color of the pain. of the pain, basking in the hazy, in the bloom.
Clock strikes 12 and the ceiling starts to fade. Heavy lungs holding back the ghosts I made. A silver ribbon drifting through the stale night air, tracing patterns on the wall while I just stare. The lighter flickers like a dying spark of hope, losing gravity while climbing up this velvet road. My pulse is steady but the room begins to spin, finally letting all the quiet pressure in.
Concrete jungle sleeping right outside the glass, watching every frantic second slowly pass. I am the anchor in a sea of violet smoke, finding punchlines in a world that feels like a joke. The shadows stretch and dance across the floor. I don't need to knock upon the temple door. The herb is burning like an incense for the soul, healing every fragment, making up the whole. Breathe it deep until the edges turn to gold, trading every bit of secret that I hold. Exhale the midnight, let the darkness turn to gray, watching all my heavy burdens float away. Higher than the birds above the city lights, drifting through the calm of these hazy nights. The universe is shrinking to this tiny space. I can finally recognize my own face.
Time is melting like a candle in the breeze. Fine bent sawdust in the rustle of the trees. The pressure drops and the frequencies align. Everything is moving in a slow design. No more running from the things I used to fear. The vision gets distorted, then it starts to clear. A clouded sanctuary built of ancient leaves, finding long-awaited moments of relief.
My eyes are heavy, but my spirit feels so light, dissolving in the middle of the lonely night. Each inhalation brings a different kind of peace. The internal static finally finds release. The street lamps flicker in a rhythm just for me, searching for the locked doors and the hidden key. Between the stanzas and the lessons left unlearned, life is better when the fire starts to burn. 45 minutes since I lost my sense of ground, loving every fragment of a sudden sound. The bass is thumping in the center of my chest, a temporary aura for a mind that rests. The ashes falling like a soft and gray snow. Where the path is leading, I don't need to know. Just a passage here upon a floating cloud, singing all my silent thoughts out loud. The stars are leaning down to hear the things I say. The morning feels a million miles away. The heavy smoke is wrapping around my weary bones, turning all the steeples into stepping stones. I reach the summit as the world begins to glow, feeling everything there is to truly know. Breathe it deep until the edges turn to gold, trading every bit of secret that I hold. Exhale the midnight, let the darkness turn to gray, watching all my heavy burdens float away. Higher than the burdens above the city lights, drifting through the calm of these hazy nights. The universe is shrinking to this tiny space. I can finally recognize my own face.
Dark face ticks past the ending line. A ghost Debris smoke weaves through the pine. My heavy eyelids find a slower pace while gravity settles across my face. The street lamp paints a yellow stain outside while everything loud has gone to hide. I catch a breath, it tastes like herbal tea, just drifting out to where I need to be. The silence is a
velvet coat I wear, a gentle haze is hanging in the air. The world is spinning, but I'm standing still, watching the moonlight climb over the hill.
This midnight exhale leaves a silver trail above the rooftops where the shadows sail, turning the static into liquid gold, letting the stories of the day unfold. I'm floating in a pool of purple deep, a promise that the restless secrets keep. Breathing the quiet, let the pressure go, moving as steady as the rivers flow. The ceiling fan is tracing lazy rings. I'm focused on the song the cricket sings. My thoughts are unfolding like an old road map while comfort settles in my weary lap. No more running for a golden prize, just the reflection in my glassy eyes. The heavy velvet curtain shuts the light. I'm claimed by the kindness of the night.
The silence is a velvet coat I wear, a gentle haze is hanging in the air. The world is spinning, but I'm standing still, watching the moonlight climb over the hill.
This midnight exhale leaves a silver trail above the rooftops where the shadows sail, turning the static into liquid gold, letting the stories of the day unfold. I'm floating in a pool of purple deep, a promise that the restless secrets keep. Breath in the quiet, let the pressure go, moving as steady as the rivers flow.
The clock face fades into a single-digit state. Heavy curtains, velvet shut to lock the garden gate. A slow burning amber cherry dancing in the gray. Watching all the heavy hours simply drift away. The ceiling turns to liquid while the floor begins to hum, counting down the pulses on a low-frequency drum. My lungs are holding secrets that the daylight couldn't keep, falling through the cracks into a canyon dark and deep. Yeah, blue smoke halo swinging round the dim electric wire. Ashes falling silent on a cold and quiet fire. The city streets are hushed beneath the heavy woolen coat. Down here in the cellar where the muted visions float, I found a certain frequency between the wrong and right, a jagged little sanctuary hidden from the light. The sofa is a continent I'm tracing with my hand, drifting offshore far away from any solid land. Take another breath and let the gravity let go, link it to the layers where the bitter shadows grow. Midnight swallowed everything and leaves a hollow sound, standing on the world that's barely touching on the ground. Let the indigo settle in the marrow of the bone, king of every shadow on the tattered leather throne. Exhale the heavy pressure till the spirit feels thin, where the silence finishes and the ghosts begin. There's a saxophone complaining through the plaster in the wall, notes are dripping slowly like a faucet in the hall. The flavor of the moment is a bitter shade of wine, tangled in the velvet of a crooked flat line. My eyes at every shutter's on a shop that's long been closed, trading in the wisdom that the weary have composed. No need for any compass when you're leaning on the wind, looking for the border where the logic starts to bend. The air is getting thicker like a swamp of violet silk. The moon is just a puddle of some sour spilled milk. The clock is stuttering upon the same old tired beat, dragging on its heavy iron metal down the. Take another breath and let the gravity let go, sinking through the layers where the bitter shadows grow. Midnight swallow everything and leaves a hollow sound, spinning on a world that's barely touching on the ground. Let the indigo settle in the marrow of the bone, king of every shadow on a tattered leather dome. Exhale the heavy pressure till the spirit feels thin, where the silence finishes and the ghosts begin. Take another breath and let the gravity let go, sinking through the layers where the bitter shadows grow. Midnight swallow everything and leaves a hollow sound, spinning on a world that's barely touching on the ground. Let the indigo settle in the marrow of the bone, king of every shadow on a tattered leather throne. Exhale the heavy pressure till the spirit feels thin, where the silence finishes and the ghosts begin. Take another breath and let the gravity let go, sinking through the layers where
where the bitter shadow grow. Midnight swallow battling and use a hollow sound. Feeling on a world that's barely touching on the ground. At the end become settled in the marrow of the bone. King of every shadow on the tiny leather throne. Exhale the heavy pressure till the spirit feels thin. Where the silence finishes and the ghosts begin.